Hello all of you beautiful Hive scum and welcome to another Astromax video. Today we're going to be talking about the Proficient Planning upgrade inside Codex Gene Stealer Cults. This is the army-wide upgrade that you can apply to units. We're going to go over everything you need to know about them, the ones you want, the ones you don't want, and the ins and outs of all of them. So grab your brood peoples, buckle up, get ready. Our time is nigh. The day of ascension starts right now. Alright, as we've been doing for the last couple of episodes, before we jump into the Proficient Planning, let's go over some updates to the schedule and just talk about things that are going on. First and foremost, as always, thank you all so much for subscribing and for supporting the channel. You've all been awesome. I'm loving all your comments. I'm so happy I can help. If there's things I can do to help you more, please absolutely let me know. You can always email me, astromaxshow@gmail.com. You can throw it in the comments if there's something you want answered, or you can also follow me over on Instagram. Astromax Media is the handle over there. And I recommend doing that because that's kind of where I'm going to be posting like the ins and out daily modeling stuff. I'm going to try and get better about doing that. And then especially as we move into May and I start traveling for some tournaments and stuff, it is not going to be possible for me to take all of my camera equipment and all of my lights and my setups and everything. So we're going to be doing just a lot of on the fly, doing it with camera, with the cell phone camera and some mics just to do daily, posts of stuff we're doing there. The first one we have coming up is in early May 5th and 6th. We'll be in San Antonio for the Alamo GT. So that's coming up, which means all of April we're going to be honing in on the list we're going to take, which I'm 98% sure is going to be Gene Stealer Cults, Hive Cult. That's what's coming up. That's what we're going to be, kind of building up towards, gearing up towards. Long way of saying, follow me over on Instagram if you want sort of daily posts on how that modeling progress is going. That is going to do it for the update. Oh, the other update is thank you all for those that voted in the poll. I'll be utilizing more of the YouTube community post section to kind of let you guys know what my schedule for posting is going to be. I would love to say, these 2 days a week, Tuesday, Thursday, you're going to get content. I don't have my work schedule at the moment doesn't really allow me to do that, but I can say I will do everything I can to get 2 videos to you guys every week. And I will try and let you know like Sunday night, kind of. I'll post up on the YouTube when those videos can be expected, so you at least have some idea of when you should be tuning in. So we're going to do Proficient Planning in this, and then we're going to do data sheets next, and then we'll do list building, and then we are going to do a meta watch, meta analysis, but I'm going to hold off and do that closer to like when the balanced data sheet comes out. We'll probably do one just before the balanced data sheet comes out. We'll review all the meta for the first half of Arcs of Omen, and then we'll look at the balanced data sheet. If there's any changes for Gene Stealer Cults, we'll analyze those, and then we'll look at kind of what the second half of Arcs of Omen is going to look like, and then it will be pretty close to starting to think about what 10th edition is going to look like. So that's all really exciting stuff. So be sure to subscribe and like and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any of that. And now that I'm done with all of that stuff, let's talk Proficient Planning. All right, so what is Proficient Planning? Well, Proficient Planning is the sort of faction-wide arm. It's like the Legion Command upgrades for Gene Stealer Cults. So these are upgrades you can pay points for, not CP, but actual points on your army roster, and give specific units specific upgrades. So there's 10 of these upgrades altogether. They range from 10 to 20 points. This is a really great place for me to mention how much I freaking love this codex, because it's the only codex I own that has been untouched in the balanced data slate, and a lot of the information in here stays true, including the Proficient Planning. I checked on Wikipedia just before we did this one to make sure there wasn't any point changes I was missing. But no, the point changes for these, the points for these, as they're printed in the codex, are the same as they are on Wikipedia. A couple of things to know for beginning players It's really easy to read these and get really excited, and suddenly you've spent like 200 points on upgrades across your army, and that is not A, it's not a very efficient way to use your points, and B, you're really making it a lot harder on yourself to keep track of every little thing that's going on in your army. At this point in our sort of like read through guide to the Gene Stealer Cult Codex, one thing you've probably picked up on is that there is a lot of nuance to this codex that does not have the pure raw power that some of the other codexes have, certainly not compared to some of the later stuff like the Astra Militarum or the Leagues of Votann. Like, there's nothing in this codex that's going to give you 32 mortal wounds on a turn, right? Like, that's just not a thing that exists in this codex. That said, this is still a very potent codex and is still really, really good at scoring points, and you can kill enough stuff with it that you can grind out games. Much like the flavor, fluff, lore of this codex, your playstyle is going to be kind of the same. It's a very decentralized playstyle, and you're going to chip away at your opponent. You're not going to land a big knockout punch. You're going to slowly chip away here and there, and your ultimate goal is to prevent your opponent from doing what they want to do. Sometimes the best strategy is just to figure out what your opponent wants to do, and don't let them do that. Frustrate your opponent, because just being on the board is going to get you like almost all of the points you need to win. So if you can just be on the board and then keep your opponent from executing their plan, you're in pretty good shape. First up, we have infantry unit only. When this unit is set up on the battlefield as reinforcements as a result of being set up underground, it can lie in wait. If it does so, set up this unit anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 3 inches away from any enemy models. Until the end of the turn, this unit is not eligible to declare a charge with. Okay, so right off the bat, a couple of things we need to know about lying in wait is it says here pretty specifically that it's when a unit is being set up from underground. So something like the Return to Shadows stratagem that allows you to go back into reserve and come back out deep strike does not count as being set up in underground. So this really only works the first time a model is set up. I really like to put it on is I like to put it on a big 20-man blob of neophytes. The reason is 20 neophytes take up a lot of space on a board, and it can be difficult to get them to deep strike them in somewhere and not touch 6 inches of an opponent's aura of control. So cutting that down to 3 inches means that it's a lot easier to get 20 neophytes on the board out of deep strike. Now, why you would want to get 20 neophytes on the board out of deep strike is because you want to deep strike 20 neophytes into your opponent's deployment zone for Brood Swarm. I've seen a lot of people use it on small acolyte squads, and sure, that's not a bad way to go to try and get exposed in a few areas. Like, I can come up within 3 inches, so I can kind of come between you and between two units with a small little squad of dudes, just string them in a line real easy, and then I can get an exposed on there. But that's a one and done kind of trick. And there's plenty of ways in stratagems, as we talked about in the previous video. I'll throw the card up for that. There's plenty of ways in stratagems and in other just abilities on data sheets to get exposed that I think you're better off using lying in wait to try and score points. The next one, we have Exacting Planner. This goes on a Primus. I've referenced this a couple of times. Once per battle, in your command phase, this model can use this ability. If it does so until the end of the phase, this model can use its Meticulous Planner ability one additional time. Each time this model uses the Meticulous Planner ability, you can select one friendly cult unit within 9 inches of this model for that ability instead of cult core unit. Once per battle, in your command phase, you can use Meticulous Planner, which is the wound reroll of 1. You can use it twice, and you can use it on models that are not core locked. Handy little thing to have. Mostly what I like is it doesn't come up too often in the way I build my list for not core, although being able to wound reroll with pure strain Gene Stealers is pretty nice. But I like to have this one because I like to keep my Primus next to my Nexus. Mostly all of my characters hang out at the back of the board and we'll get into that more when we get into list building. But now once a game, my Nexus can use his ability, twice from the relic, and my Primus can activate this. So 2 units can have hit and wound rerolls of 1 for a turn, and that's pretty nice on like that key turn where you're really trying to like gain the initiative on your opponent. So this one isn't an every time include thing for me, but more often than not, it makes it into my list. Lying in wait is, I start down. What is lying in wait? 20 points. Exacting planner is 15 points. So I pretty much start down 20 points on my lists. I usually try and stick to like three or 4 of these. Okay, up next we have Alchemist Supreme. This one's 15 points. If you're running a melee heavy army, I really like the Biophagus in general. Alchemist Supreme is an excellent upgrade to give him. When you give a unit this ability, select 1 cult core or aberrant unit from your army, then select 1 genomic enhancement for that unit to gain. That's on page 102. We'll cover that a little bit more in the data sheets, but that's like the abilities that the Biophagus can give out. It's like +1 AP, exploding 6s, and a feel no pain. So that's really nice to just be able to give that out before the game starts. If you're running an aberrant heavy list, you definitely are taking a Biophagus and you're definitely using this upgrade on them. But I find it can be just as useful to put a 5-up feel no pain on a big brick of neophytes, right? Because that goes, especially the ones that are going to be going out front or the ones that are going to be setting up lying in wait somewhere, because now they're coming up in your opponent's territory and they have a 5+ feel no pain, and suddenly that's 20 rather annoying models to get out of your opponent's deployment zone, which can really just mess up whatever plans they have going on. Up next, we have a Trap Sprung. When this unit is set up on the battlefield as reinforcements as a result of being set up underground, so again, not strategic reserves, not, some kind of lying or return to shadows coming back thing, strictly from underground. Until the end of the turn, each time a charge roll is made for this unit, roll 1 additional dice and discard 1 of the dice. This is 15 points, and in a list where I'm running 3 pure strains, 3 10-man squads of pure strains, or even 2, really, this is going in. So I have Lying in Wait and a Trap Sprung are like always in my lists. I like this one because I will put 1 unit of pure strains into underground, and this almost guarantees a charge when they come up. Next, we have a Perfect Ambush. Crossfire unit only. When this unit is set up on the battlefield as reinforcements as a result of being set up underground, you can use this ability. If you do so, select 1 enemy unit within 12 inches of this unit until the end of the turn. Each time a model in that unit makes a ranged attack against that enemy unit is treated as having a crossfire marker and as being exposed for that attack. This one is good. It's 15, so it's pretty cheap. It's kind of you get 10, 15, or 20 points, so it's right there in the middle at 15. I know a lot of people that use this. I've seen it in a lot of lists. All right, up next, From Every Angle. This one is 10 points. At the start of the first battle round, if the mission uses the Strategic Reserves rules, this unit can be placed into Strategic Reserves without having to spend any additional CP, regardless of how many units are already in Strategic Reserve. When setting up this unit from Strategic Reserves, treat the current battle round number as being 1 higher. Note that this means that the unit can arrive from strategic battle rounds in the first battle round. Good. Like, anytime you can come in from strategic... Now, if you're doing narrative play, right, keep in mind, there's no stipulation in narrative play for not being able to come in on turn 1 from Strategic Reserves or Deep Strikes or any of that stuff. So if you're doing narrative play, don't put this in your list because you will get 0 value out of it. Broken record here, big squads of neophytes. You might be starting to see why, if you're new to Gene Stealer Cults, the current meta lists, competitive lists, are going to start with how many 20-man neophyte squads can I put in, because they are the one unit that it benefits from almost every single thing in this book. So one of my favorite podcasters and competitive, players that I, when I started 3-4 years ago, was learning a lot from, Adam Camilleri, Art of War Down Under. And one thing he said, I don't remember what codex he was reviewing, but it really stuck out with me. He said, it was something with Space Marines. And he said, your tactical doctrine is going to make you better at melee. I think it was Blood Angels. So you can take stuff that's either going to balance out the shooting side of your army, or you can take stuff that's just going to enhance the melee side of your army. And Gene Stealer Cults are almost flipped, right? Because everything about this codex, special rule-wise, enhances your shooting. Crossfire and Exposed only interact with your shooting phase. So you can spend all of your proficient planning and your relics and your warlord traits and your cult creeds trying to build up your melee side of it. Or you can take the couple of melee units that are just always good, pure strains, and then spend all of your other resources enhancing your already good shooting. So if I have army-wide access to +1 to wound and +1 to hit and ignore cover, then why would I spend points anywhere else other than making sure that more units get +1 to hit, more units get +1 to wound, more units get to ignore your cover? Like, those are 3 really powerful mechanics that other armies have to put in effort to get. Gene Stealer Cults just get them. So don't try and work against the Codex, work with the Codex. Up next, we have Meditations in Shadow. This is a Psyker model only. This model knows 1 additional psychic power from the Brood Mind discipline. I've never actually used this one. It hasn't come up. Up next, Excavate. This one pretty much every time. This one is 20 points. Before the battle, if this unit is set up underground, it can excavate. If it does so, the resolve pre-battle abilities step of the mission sequence, select 1 terrain feature on the battlefield. That terrain feature loses the defensible, heavy cover, light cover, and inspiring traits, and gains difficult ground traits. Okay, up next we have They Came From Below. This is going to be for non-vehicle units. If that unit is set up in ambush, so just the marker, when revealing ambush markers, you can do one of the following. Remove 1 ambush marker from the battlefield and set it up underground. Or, after setting up this unit from an ambush marker, this unit can make a normal move as if it were your movement phase, but must end that move more than 9 inches away from any enemy models. This is the 4th of my auto includes. So we're at Lying in Wait, a Trap Sprung, Excavate, and this. And that's where I spend all of my points. I like this. This goes on my other squad of Pure Strains. So I'm going to put 1 squad of Pure Strains, Trap Sprung. They're going in underground. They're going to come out of underground and roll 3d6 on a charge. The other one, this one, They Came From Below. The last of our Proficient Planning upgrades, and then we'll sort of pontificate here for a moment about some stuff. Our time is Nigh. I love the wording on this. It's a great name, and I used to... Yeah, well, let's read it and we'll go into it. The first time this unit is selected to fight in this battle until the fight is resolved, add 1 to the attacks characteristics of models in this unit. This is not cumulative with additional attacks granted from beyond psychic powers. Wah, wah. If it was, that'd be bonkers, because then you could get your aberrants to 4 attacks, which would actually make them worth having. But Our Time is Nigh is great in melee-heavy Gene Stealer Cult list, because you just get +1 attacks, and it's excellent on big squads of neophytes, not neophytes, big squads of acolytes, with all of your cutters and drills and stuff. Taking those from 2 to 3 attacks on 4 drills actually really increases your chances of hitting 6s and then spilling out mortal wounds and yada yada yada. But so that is all of the Proficient Planning upgrades. So all we have left is the data sheets. So that'll be coming up next. Remember to subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, give it a like. If you have any questions, throw it in the comment or hit me up on Instagram, AstroMaxMedia. We will be back next with data sheets, and then we'll be doing some meta watch as we get closer to the balanced data slate for Arcs of Omen, and the inevitable rise of information for 10th edition, probably coming out of Adepticon, which is coming up next week. So keep your eyes open, because we'll do a video about that as well. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, geek your own way.